In this presentation, we're going to create a bill from a purchase order, and then we're going to go through the process of paying that bill. This time we will analyze the process with the trial balance instead of the financial statements, instead of the balance sheet. The scenario being that we created a purchase order in the past. We buy and sell guitars, therefore we created the purchase order for our vendor for the purchase of a guitar. No transaction happening when we create the purchase order. We're imagining the guitar has now been received. We receive the guitar with the bill, where we will therefore enter the bill as well as the inventory, or at the same point, the inventory of the guitar, and then we'll make the payment of that bill. Time to engage with Sage 50 Cloud Accounting. Here we are in our Get Great Guitars file. We're currently in the Vendors and Purchases section. We're down here in the flowchart now. Let's consider the flowchart. We have the purchase order being the request for inventory. In our case, the request for a guitar. Recall that we entered the purchase order in the past and that the purchase order has no effect on the financial statements, but is just a request for the inventory, in our case, the guitar. We can select the drop down here and take a look at that purchase order by going to the View and Edit Purchase Order. So View and Edit Purchase Order. I'm going to make this large. And then we have our two purchase orders. We have the full year that we can see at this point. We have the first one that one is open and one is not open at this time. We're going to be dealing with the one that's still open, and we're going to close it by receiving a payment. So we're going to take this purchase order. We're going to create the bill from it. We are now imagining that the actual guitar, the inventory, has showed up in our warehouse, and it has the bill stuck to it, right? So we're going to open up the guitar. We're going to be entering the bill now. So I'm going to go to New Bill. And this was from Gibson. So we're going to say this is from Gibson. And once I do that, it jumps over here to the other side, to the purchase order side, because it says that's what it's saying. The system's saying to us, talking to us. It's saying, hey, there's a purchase order for Gibson. Do you want to select that one? And we're going to say, yep. And we want to pick the 02 for the purchase order. And there we have that. And let's make the date as of 01/24/20. And so there we have that. I'm going to put our number here just for our practice problem. And that looks good. So the purchase order then has been populated. That'll populate the item for us, the amount remaining, and we're going to match it out. We're going to say, if we do the physical count of the number of guitars that have shown up, is there one of them? Well, there's only one in our physical count, so we're going to say, yep. There's one guitar, so that has been received, and that'll then populate the amount of the bill. What's going to happen here when we enter this information? It's going to be increasing the accounts payable. It's going to be increasing the inventory. So let's do that and then check it out. So let's go ahead and save it, and then I'm going to record it, and then I'm going to close this, and then I'm going to open up the trial balance this time, the trial balance. So here we're going to go down to the general ledger to do so, and then I'm going to go to the working trial balance. I like to change the options up top because I don't need to see the zero balances, so let's remove these zero balances. We don't need them. We don't need those. So, and I could make it for the period of January too. So I'm going to make it January 2020. I'm going to remove the zero balances and then say okay. And then if we go back up top, then we're going to say that we have the inventory. That's going to be an asset account. So if we double click then on the inventory, we're going to see that we have that 598. So there it is. There's the 598. Double click it on that. Then that should take us to our bill. So there's the bill. Let's close this back out. Other side, go into the accounts payable. Accounts payable down here. And if I double click on that, it has now increased by that 598. It's a little out of order because we did the dates. I did the dates a little out of order, so that's how it is. So we're gonna say there it is. There's the 598. Closing this back out and closing this back out. Also, just recall that the accounts payable would need to be supported by the accounts payable, subsidiary ledger breaking out who we owe the money to, which you could be using the aged receivable, for example, would be some report you can use there. And the inventory would also need to be broken out not just by the date or the GL, but also by the type of inventory that we purchased, which should increase now with the type of inventory, the units of inventory, and then tracking that inventory to the price here using the first in, first out flow method of an assumption. So now what we're going to do is we're going to say that we're going to pay for the inventory, and the payment of the inventory will of course decrease the amount of the checking account, and it will be decreasing the amount of the accounts payable. So let's check that out now. So I'm going to go back on over to our screen here. And so if we look at the bill now, we can say, okay, let's check out that bill. I can go to the bill and say, view and edit the bill. So we're going to open the view and edit bill screen. And there is the bill that we have for Gibson. So it's past due. So we're going to go ahead and post it now. It's because, and then I'm going to go to the pay bill and I'm going to say pay bill. And we will pay the bill. I'm going to make this large. I'm going to pay the bill for Gibson. So we'll say Gibson paying that bill. And then the bill, of course, populates down below for us. So that looks good. I'm going to change the date before I do this. And I'm going to change the reference number. And then the date, I'm going to make it 0123, let's say 20. And then we can make it a check or some other type of form of payment. And then we're going to say that it's going to be coming out of the checking account. So that's what we want. That's good. And then I'm just going to check it off. And once I check it off, it'll populate the amount up top. So there's the $598. So there we have that. We could add a description if we so choose. Also just note that we're in this tab. It popped over to this tab, applied to the invoice because we chose Gibson. And again, Sage was saying, hey, you know, Sage is smart. Sage is to say, and they pulled it over to the first tab and said, there, do you want to tie it out to this item here, as opposed to entering the accounts on this side. So we're going to say yes. We tied that out. Looks good. What's going to happen when we record this? Checking accounts decreasing, accounts payable going down. Let's do it and then take a look at it on the trial balance, on the TB. So we're going to save this and say yes, please. Then I'm going to close this back out and we'll go back on over to the trusty TB, the trusty trial balance. And then we're going to go into the checking account, double clicking on that checking account to do so. And then we should see this decrease for the Gibson, the 598, double clicking on that amount will then take us back to the check that we just have created. We're going to then close this back out, other side then go into the accounts payable down to 15,000 once again, double clicking on that item. Then we see there the 598. Notice the pattern that we're starting to see with accounts payable. It should be basically credited, and then it should be going up and then back down again, right? The accounts payable is always going to be going up and then back down. We owe somebody and then we pay that individual off. Now, obviously, generally it would go up. It does go up with a credit and then goes down with a debit. So I have the dates kind of a little bit out of order here. So bear with us on that. But that's going to be the general rule. You can see it down here, of course, the 400 and then the 400 goes up in the credit direction and then back down. If we double click on that 598, then on the debit side, then we're going to see our check that we have just entered in. Closing this back out, back to the trial balance. Remember that I am going to be saving the trial balance whenever I remember to do so, as well as a backup file so you can jump to certain points within the practice problem. That's going to be it for now. Let's get out of here.